It says it's recording. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Don, can you just tell me if you can see a red dot in the left-hand corner?
I can, yes.
Thank you. I get a different symbol, you see.
Ed, your audio's a bit weird.
Is that better? It might be because I've got a fan going on.
That's
Ed,
much
you
better.
speak to somebody who knows about audio.
Yeah, I don't know anyone. Right, Yvonne, we're at about 35.
Okay, and people stop coming in.
It's slowed down.
Okay, okay, let's make a start. So hi everyone, hope you've had a good week. Quite a lot going on the volunteer front with HISIMP Light. So we'll do the same, we'll adopt the same procedure that we did the last few weeks and start with an update. So Don, would you like to go first? Don, are you there? Are you on mute?
He's just disappeared off.
He's disappeared off. Has he? Has he gone? Okay, let's start then with Dennis. Can you give a quick update on HISIMP Light and what was included in that, Dennis?
I'd only be reading from what everybody I think has seen. It was intended very much as a summary of what was going out on a number of channels. So it's a reminder of a whole stack of contact points, some messages from lead organizations, and a summary of where we were at the time on businesses opening. Obviously, as time has moved on, a whole stack of that has changed. And that's one of the downsides of the media. But actually, we're still getting a whole stack of really quite positive comments back. So that is good news. Don, I think, is at about 75% distribution. Hopefully we'll hit the whole village fairly soon. Not sure there's a great more I can add.
Thanks for that. Don, do you want to take it up from there? How are you getting on with the distribution?
Yeah, I've got 75% of the street coordinators have come back to me and said they have delivered, which is good news considering we only sent them out 2 or 3 days ago. So that's excellent. We really would like to make sure that everybody has received the newsletter and the card, because we're aware that last time people say they didn't get the card. So it'd be great to get that to 100% in the next few days.
So also just to say that the wellbeing card went out and there's been a couple of responses on the wellbeing card, so that redistribution was good. We're also putting the information in the businesses, so if you need any more, Don, you've got plenty more, haven't you?
A current estimate, I've got something like 1,000 of the newsletters left and not very much less than that of the card, so plenty more if people want them.
And also to say that the weekly digest with updates on the businesses, etc., has now gone on the parish website. Dennis has put it on there and will be updated on a Thursday, both on our website, the parish website, and also on High Hub. So, Nick, how's the businesses going?
Generally fine. In regular contact with some of the pubs and the care homes and the schools, so the infant school and the junior school. Infant school and junior school are getting set up to reopen for certain age groups next Monday on the 8th. They've given themselves an extra week to prepare. Thanks to everybody who's donated any soap dispensers. They've got enough now. We've collected well over 100 in the last week or so, which is great news. So that the schools can dispense their massive tubs of sanitizer and soap into smaller dispensers. The pubs, so the Red Lion is open at the weekend for food, and looked like they were doing a roaring trade through their window the other day. The King Bill is also opening for food and takeaways. The rest of the pubs are kind of enjoying their time off and decorating and whatnot, sorting themselves out for when they can officially reopen properly. The pallet scheme is going well still. We're still collecting lots of food, and that is being distributed by the Salvation Army to people that need it, so that's great news. The prescription hotline is running well and self-organising, so thank you very much to Morag Goodwin, Hannah Sheeling and Eileen Andrews for doing that. Morag's going to be going back to being a chiropractor in the next week or so, and we'll be still helping out somewhat, but taking a bit of a step back. So it looks like we've got another volunteer for doing that to help out. So they will receive full training, full induction, and it'll look great on their CV. And the warm meals I'm still doing on my own, but I'm looking to get another helper, which looks like I may well have, so I can share the load. So we're delivering to between 2 and 4 households daily for people that really need the help of warm meals for their families or for themselves, and also to a couple of elderly households who just need a break from time to time from cooking for themselves. So that's all going well. Big shout out to Etheldred Care Home, who are supplying the warm meals, as well as sandwiches and a salad to one family for the evening. And have also really nicely put together a couple of packages of toys and games and puzzles for 2 of the children that I'm delivering to, which was very, very well received by the children. And Ethelred have just been an ace as well. They won't take any money for it. They're doing it out of the goodness of their own hearts. And they've been a great asset to the community over the past couple of months. And the pallets being collected by Will Sheeling, Vida Burton, Muriel Porter and Sarah Davey, and all being dropped off to the Salvation Army for redistribution. And Georgina's doing a great job of making sure we're feeding the right people at the right times. And not just feeding them, but also delivering them essential items such as soap and sanitary products and that kind of thing.
Thanks, Nick. So lots going on. Is it all on the weekly digest?
I'm sending things through to Amanda Borrell for High Hub. I think some of it's on the weekly digest, but I can send other things through, updates and that kind of thing, as well as charts of how much food we're collecting on a daily basis and from where, and anonymized prescription data as well, should anybody want to see that.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Nick. And then just over to Georgina, just to give an update on how the food parcel's going from your perspective. Next in line.
Things are going really well. Just first of all, I just want to say it's Volunteer Week this week in the national calendar. So just a big shout out to all the volunteers that are helping collecting the pallets, the High Friends drivers and those who are sorting out as well. So just a really big thank you to them this week, as well as to everyone else who's helping in any way. We're moving the food bank over to the Methodist Church in the next week, just because we've got issues with our building work and possibly our play group returning back in the next few weeks. So I'll speak to those who are involved sometime this week to organise that, but it won't affect how we run or anything. Things will still happen the same. We're currently supporting 10 households weekly, and we were supporting a few more, but that's reduced. Fortunately, circumstances have improved for them, so they're able to get back to a bit more normality. And I'm in the middle of reviewing all the families that we're supporting as well over the next couple of weeks and seeing where we go from there. So may well reduce, may well increase. We've had another referral as a result of the newsletter, the newsletter that went out over the last few days as well. So yeah, I think that's where we're up to. Things are going well. We've got plenty of food. We've got plenty of monetary donations as well to support that as well. So yeah, things are going well.
Thank you. Thanks, Georgina. And then Joe, over to you. How are things going on the helpline?
There really isn't much for me to report at all, thank you. I'm getting very few calls here, which I think is because people are in contact. So well done, all the volunteers on the ground.
Great. Okay. And then thank you, Joe. And then over to Caroline. Yeah, Caroline Manser. Last week we talked about the befriending scheme, and I know you've made a start on that. How's that going?
Yeah. Can you hear me? Am I?
Lovely. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. So what I thought was a model to try as a sort of pilot was to find out in my road who's shielded. And who might be kind of shielding voluntarily, ask them if they would like a phone befriender, and then to think of a couple of people in the road that I thought would be good as befrienders. So in my street, nobody, the shielded people are so well supported by family and friends, they felt they didn't need any more, although one of the shielded people has offered to be a befriender and will be very, very good. So I then started to try and find befrienders. So I've got 4. That the difficulty actually, which is a good thing, has been to find people who would like to have a phone befriender. And so 5 other street coordinators, including 2 who have a lot of elderly and vulnerable people. So far I've only been able to set up 1 pair, and I've got just last night got the names of 2 more. So I've got befrienders I can pair them to. Are you still hearing this? Because I'm just getting a blank.
You're lovely. Thank you. Yeah, you're doing well, Caroline. Thank you.
I think probably the way, as I would say, it would be to get these new pairs set up, and I think it's important for the person who's befriending to be able to set some ground rules with that other person, to maybe say, oh, phone me anytime but not after 10 p.m. or I'd rather you just leave a message first. And it could be that the befriender phones once a week and then says to the other person that, you know, you phone me other times if you'd like to. Got to sort of make it work for both people. So I'm thinking that if I can get these other pairs working this week, and if that goes all right and there's no difficulties, then next week we could sort of ask all the other street coordinators if they would be able to find the shielded people in their streets. I think you can get that information from people hailing if you need to, and then try to pair them up with anyone that you think would be a suitable befriender, which is basically somebody that you yourself would like to talk to. So I think that's it.
Okay, and so that's the help you need. And I'm just, you people will have seen me typing. I'm just typing to James, because James, you're doing some work with the church, aren't you, on befriending as well? And I wonder if that links in.
It probably does a bit, yeah. I mean, we
can work together.
Yeah, we've had a support. We've been calling people to support those who are particularly vulnerable, not necessarily shielding, but just people who we know are vulnerable, some of whom would be church members, some of whom would not be, and some of whom would be sort of on our fringe, who we know about. And we've learned quite a bit about that, particularly supporting people who have other issues and sort of problems like addiction and that kind of thing, and how we can do that safely and well and supportively. and what the sort of caller needs to know in order to be able to make a good job of that. So very, very happy to share that that kind of information if anybody would find that helpful, either in a particular circumstance or just generally for those who are organising it. Yeah, really happy for you to call me or email me.
Okay, thank you, James. And Paul Seekings, anything from you? Because I know you're just back after being away. Anything on the befriending scheme that you can help with, Caroline?
Yes, similar to what James was saying, we know a number of people, and actually I've just been in contact with Jean Newman over the end of last week. We've identified 21 people who we know who would value a call. I think it's quite difficult to describe, but it's the emotional support as well as not necessarily just the shielding, and just actually someone taking an interest in someone and listening to someone. And so I've certainly had a number of very productive and calls with folks. It's just showing that someone cares, someone's interested in you. And I know the street volunteers and coordinators are doing a fantastic job. But it is a little bit of spending a little bit of time. So 20 minutes on a phone call or something like that is really important, I think. And also you pick up all sorts of things as well out of that maybe someone won't necessarily put their hand up to say, I desperately need help, but then you can follow those things forward. So that's what we've been doing, and we're happy to try and extend that further. I think everybody, if everybody has a go at it, I think is the way forward. So church, us, and also the street coordinators and volunteers, and then hopefully we try to connect as well as we can. I think the other thing just to say is that from what Caroline was saying, there are a significant number of people who are really, really well supported, which is fantastic. So all we're doing is we're adding into something that's already existing.
All right. Caroline, have you and Hi Friends, have you and Paul been in touch? Would that be useful? Caroline? Are you on mute? Caroline?
Sorry,
I'm
I'm trying to mute myself, but I'm on my phone and I'm sending crazy texts because I can't get back.
Okay. And
just to say, I'll be in contact with Caroline. Yes, I'm sorry, I was away last week. But yes, that would be great to connect up. And I think it is just a case of all hands to the deck, and then we can cover as many people as we can. That's really what we should be offering, it seems to me. And I think we're doing a great job already. And obviously, if there are folks that people know about who would benefit from it, as Caroline's been saying, then do contact me, and we'll see what we can do.
Lovely, that's great. Get together. And Joe, thank you. James, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo Paul's points that we do need multiple networks to pick up people. So churches and his networks and other community networks are really important. The other thing to say is to do persevere with this, because sometimes if you phone up somebody you don't know, it takes 2 or 3 phone calls. But what we found is the first couple of calls can be quite short, but by phone call 3, it's 20 minutes. So that's really interesting, and people have really got to know each other and just beginning to share life with one another, and it's making a huge difference to people. It really, really is valuable. So persevere, and if anybody needs any help with it, we're very happy to help out with what we've learned ourselves.
Lovely, thank you, James. And then Rachel Bircher, something on the chat, a note of caution. I have received the district council list on my street likely to be shielding. Do you just want to raise your point? Rachel, are you on mute?
Yep, sorry, I'm off mute now.
Hi.
Yeah, just right at the beginning, the district council lists were distributed to those of us who were signed up as street coordinators. And my understanding of that was it was an indication from the district council of things that they thought would cause people to be shielding. but obviously they don't have full medical details. So I know that, you know, it was basically when they know people are older or they've asked for help with, you know, their bins, for example. So I know it picked up a few people on my street, but it's definitely not picked up particularly those who are shielding for medical conditions. So it's a great place to start with that list of, you know, with people who may be feeling quite isolated, but it's not comprehensive. So it, you know, it's still worth, as everyone else has said, thinking about other ways of getting in touch with people.
Thanks, Rachel. And we'll follow up with Pippa and also Chelsea, our clerk, on that about the data for the additional people in case we can help there. Lucy, your question, Lucy Robinson, do you want to?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, lovely, thank you.
Okay, so I'm now aware of quite a few people who I believe are either self-isolating or shielding or have got medical conditions, and they weren't on the list I was given, or perhaps they're even, you know, just not particularly needy, but they're over 70 and that wasn't noted. And I was thinking, well, I won't just pass all this information up. Sometimes, you know, we had a lady who's gone into hospital this week. She won't know that I know she's potentially in need. Now, originally, a few weeks back, we talked about how we ought to perhaps pass this information up the line so that SCDC know this, but I'm not comfortable necessarily doing that as long as somebody knows, oh, somebody at number 12 needs, you know, somebody to phone them, that may be enough. And I just wanted to confirm, a bit like James says, if we've got a number of networks, it's possible people will slip through the cracks, but we can't be completely umbrella about all this. We've just got to work perhaps at street level and go, oh yeah, such a person needs support. Are their immediate neighbours aware of this? Are there other people who are keeping an eye out for them, rather than necessarily passing it up the line where I don't think it's going to necessarily support them so well. Just my full penny worth, but you know, if you want to come back on that, do.
I think it's an important point, and James, you've got some good information on that in terms of what is shared up the line, haven't you? Would you like to just expand on how you're doing, what you're doing with your network?
You know, people's giving out phone numbers and people's you know, personal data and all those sorts of things, and trying to make it so that, in a sense, the vulnerable person is the one calling the shots, and also that actually the number of the person who phones them is not necessarily known to them unless they're happy for that to happen. So there's quite a lot of kind of safeguarding cautions and vulnerabilities around, which obviously our safeguarding policy is what we work to, and that's really important for us. But I mean, the protocols in it are actually really kind of helpful, just as a matter of good practice. That's obviously a bit of a difficult issue in a sort of village-wide context where there's not an organisation that has a policy. But I think everybody needs to, you know, most of us are now, you know, very, very aware of safeguarding issues. But I think one does need to just go forward with caution in kind of making sure that one isn't distributing information unreasonably. And there's usually ways around that. There's usually, you can ask a friend of a friend or ask the person, would it be all right if, that kind of thing. And I think that's the sort of thing that we can certainly help with if there's any particular situations where that comes up, because it doesn't come up in every situation, but it might, where it does, do ask, yeah.
Thanks, James. And I just want to again follow up with Paul of Hi Friends and Georgina of the Salvation Army. You've got similar safeguarding policies, I think, that you're using. Start with Paul. Thank you.
Yes, I mean, for me, the people that I've been contacting, we already know. So I have to confess, it's a significant advantage. And already they've stated that they're happy. You know, we've got their information already. They've signed that. So as James was saying, that I think it is really important that the vulnerable person calls the shots. And so it's actually important that they give permission for things to progress on. But that's the way we've operated at the moment, in terms of we're connecting with people that we already know. They have our information, we have their information, they know you know, all of that has been already done up front. So that's us.
Lovely. Okay, Georgina, anything from you on that?
Nothing really more to add, I don't think. Yeah, just much of the same, really. Yeah, okay. No different.
And Nick, I thank you. And I just want to go across to Nick. Nick, you're doing a similar thing with the prescriptions, aren't you, in terms of data? Nick, are you on mute? Anything to add? No? Okay. All right. So
Yeah, sorry,
okay,
I was unmuted. Yeah, we've got data, but it's very secure. It's only available to a few people. I try not to look at it because I don't need to necessarily. So even though I have access, I'm trying, to keep it as private as possible. I'd also like to publicly point out that I made a mistake earlier. Morag Goodwin isn't a chiropractor; she's an osteopath. But yeah.
All right. Okay, thank you. Caroline, was that useful? Thank you, Nick. Was that useful, Caroline?
Yeah, that was really useful. Sorry, I've managed to find myself again. And yes, I'm going to be in touch with James and Paul. And yes, and I'm also thinking that it's important for the people that we offer befriending to, that they've actually got almost a get out of jail clause. In other words, that they can maybe ring me or somebody else on the parish council, say, I don't really want this person to phone me, or she's not the right person. There needs to be, I think, somebody on the outside. But as I say, I think I'll talk to James and Paul before I do any more. It'd be really helpful.
Right. So so there's just one last thing we want to, two last things. So just to say also that later today there will be a community survey coming out. It's been put together by people on the core team. So look out for that. We'll be on High Hub, it'll be on the Parish Council website. It will also be on High Volunteers. So we'll give you a preamble what the vision for the survey is, and there's just a few questions that we're asking for you to fill in. So for the street coordinators, please do encourage people to fill in that community survey, which will be out later today. And then secondly, the last thing is the clap for the community. So last week we talked about the whether we would continue clapping, and it was down to the individuals. And Nick raised the point about clapping for the community. So we just talked about this in the core meeting about whether you'd like to do that. If so, some of you said it would be a great connection with the village at 8 o'clock on a Thursday. So just putting that out there in case that's something you want to do. Anything, Don or Nick, you'd like to add about the clapping for the community in terms of an invitation? Anything to add?
As far as I'm aware, I think some people are still clapping for the NHS, some people are clapping for the community. Other streets have self-organised to clap for themselves. I don't think it's necessarily for us to decide who people should clap for. I think it's good for people to, be free and do whatever they feel is necessary to make themselves feel better, to praise others, and whoever that might be. I think we should leave it down to individual streets.
And Nick took the words right out of my mouth.
Great, okay, and mine too. Well done, Nick. And so we just said we'd raise it at this meeting, so perhaps see some of you out there tomorrow evening clapping and remembering people in the village. Okay, any other questions for today? We're at 31 minutes. Don, I think this is the quickest we've ever been, but any questions? I know it's a lot quieter out there at the moment. Okay, all right, we'll finish it there. Thanks everyone, and speak to you next week. Steve Hunt, absolutely agree.
Lucy's clapping for a nice short Zoom meeting.
Super. Bye.
Clapping for, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Lucy. Bye everyone.
Ciao, ciao.